Hello everyone, and welcome to Biopedia. In comparatively recent news, the governments of the UK and Scotland have decided to stop fishing for sand eels in the English parts of the North Sea and any territorial waters controlled by Scotland. There is, obviously, a conservation and therefore biological aspect to this news story. However, as we will see today, there is also a political aspect which demonstrates how the human world interacts with the conservation world. First off, what exactly are we talking about here? The ban came along after a quarter of a century of lobbying by groups including the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, or the RSPB. Back in 2023, the RSPB stated that a halt to industrialised trawls for sand eels in the North Sea would help the most vulnerable seabirds. Sand eels are a crucial food for fish, aquatic mammals, and seabirds. A lot of the latter, puffins included, feed sand eels to their young. However, these eels are struggling due to the aforementioned trawling from fisheries and the changing climate. In 2023, the government began a consultation on the issue that was set to take 3 months. It was noted that the main party involved in the fishing was the Danish. Let's diverge a little bit here to talk about what exactly the issue is regarding seabirds. A seabird census in 2023 discovered that over 50% of seabirds which breed in Ireland and the United Kingdom have suffered a decrease in the past 2 decades. If we consider Scotland, which houses more than 50% of UK seabirds, in isolation, this climbs to 70% of species. Switching over to talk about specific species for a minute, puffins have declined by 25% since the year 2000. Puffins and kittiwakes both use sand eels and are both facing the prospect of extinction worldwide. Added onto this, there are a lot of additional pressures on seabirds, including the changing climate, development, and bird flu. So, bringing all this information back to the recent news story, we've got sand eel fishing halting in the UK, which came into force as of the 26th of March 2024. However, this is where things get political. Namely, the European Union asked to consult with the UK on this issue on the 16th of March 2024. This was as per the conditions of something called the Trade and Cooperation Agreement, or the TCA for short. This agreement, and the transition away from it, is effective until the 30th of June 2026, and says that the UK and EU can use each other's exclusive economic zones. These zones are areas of water stretching out from 12 to 200 nautical miles from a country's coastline. Now, for context, the reason we're talking about things like transitions is because the UK was part of the EU between 1973 and 2020, hence the need for transition as the UK is no longer part of the European Union. The concern here was that the sand eel ban hampered EU fishing in the region. The EU and UK are both able to use particular stretches of water in England, Wales, and the Channel Islands between 6 and 12 nautical miles from the coast. Sand eel is under management of both parties, with the UK getting 3.11% of their joint quota and the EU getting 96.89%. The parties consult with each other to come up with the maximum that can be fished. Sand eel is, as we've said, particularly important to Denmark, who use UK waters between May and June. Notably, Denmark is responsible for 96% of the EU's catch. 35% of the joint quota is in regions pretty much completely controlled by the UK. The other 65% is either in regions controlled by both, or else under the sole control of the EU. With regards to this consultation I mentioned earlier, the EU was essentially questioning whether the decision to stop fishing for sand eel went with or against the principles of the TCA. The EU's Commissioner for Environment, Oceans and Fisheries pointed out that sand eel populations, which were in good health, were important for both ecosystems and fishermen. So, you can see, this conservation story does have a political aspect as well. Regarding sand eels, I wanted to find out a bit more about their conservation status, so I consulted with the IUCN Red List. Their website lists 3 sand eel species which are found in the UK. Of these, 2 are listed in their conservation status as least concern and 1 as data deficient. Just off the face of this data, this might not sound too concerning. However, I will say that I haven't really explored the Sandeel fishery in a lot of detail, so it's very likely there's something I've missed, and I don't really feel qualified to comment on the decision to close the fisheries. That said, I will add the qualifier to the information I've given that global or range-wide red list status are, in my experience, not necessarily the same as regional red list status. Regardless, the overall picture that emerges is a conservation decision which also has political implications. That's it for this episode. As always, thank you all for listening. Feel free to get in touch at the show's email address for any questions, comments, or topic suggestions for future episodes. Until next time, have a great week, everyone.